What's going on, everyone? It's Balls, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we got another live stream for you. We're going to be discussing NFL fantasy wide receiver rankings for the upcoming season, and then straight after this, we're doing the tight end one as well. So make sure you tune into that. If you're tuning in live or if you're watching on replay, make sure you give a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Any support is very much appreciated. Even if you don't want to watch all the videos and just leave me in your inbox for subscriptions, it still helps out. It just click subscribe, takes 2 seconds, and any support is very much appreciated. So let's get stuck in. So again, if you want to read the written version of these, make sure you go to the Downtown Rebs website or the DT Talk website where they'll be published, and you can actually look at them and maybe sort of it might help decide who you're going to play on your field for the week or who you're going to draft instead. So just make sure you look at if you want to have a look at those. So let's get stuck into the rankings, shall we? So I think for wide receiver, it's pretty obvious. Number one is going to be Michael Thomas from New Orleans Saints. He had an amazing year last year. Our number one player in the league for catches. And obviously second was McCaffrey, which is weird being a running back. But Mog Thomas, he's just a target machine. He's a reception machine. He knows how to get the ball, playing in the slot and playing. I've seen him. You can see him play out wide as well. See him play both places, and he's got the highest floor of essentially almost any player in the league. He's got one of the highest floors. He's going to give you a minimum, at worst, 15 points, and he's got a ceiling of 35, 40 points as well. So if he was a running back, he'd be taken probably in the first 2 picks. But obviously being a wide receiver, there's so much depth. You can get guys that have got safe floors like a Robert Woods or Cooper Kupp or someone like that that's got like a 10-point minimum floor. And running backs are so like there's not very many. So that's why Michael Thomas is probably sliding down to like pick 6, 7, even 8. I've seen him go at times because people are taking your top 5 or 6 running backs first and then looking at Michael Thomas and guys like that. So he'll be the number one wide receiver for the season. He's insane. He's got an amazing quarterback throwing to him as well, and Drew Brees, and he's the number one target there. He probably will get a little bit more attention this year after the year he had last year. But I think having Emmanuel Sanders there as well will also open up some extra space for him as well, because Emmanuel Sanders isn't no wide receiver to sleep on, so you've got to be covering him as well. So Mog Thomas, number one for me. This is the not contentious one, but this is the one where I sort of was tossing and turning between who I was going to put number 2 and 3. So at number 2, I've got Devonta Adams from the Green Bay Packers. Now, I've got him there purely because I think that he's the undeniable number one target for Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. There's no one else really taking any targets off him. There's no tight end that will be taking any targets off him. There's no, like Alan Lazar will have his targets, but he won't take a lot away. You've got guys like Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams. They're not going to take a lot of targets off of him. So they'll take some targets, but Devonta Adams is being Aaron Rodgers' number one go-to guy since Jordy Nelson, essentially. So he'll be getting minimum 8 targets a game. He gets double team, triple team, but he still just finds a way to make space get into open space and make the catch. So he's number 2, and at my number 3 spot, I've got Julio Jones. Now I've got it at 3. He's probably the best wide receiver in the NFL. He's an absolute specimen of a human being. He's a machine, beast, whatever you want to call him. Just gets it done every year. He almost got 100 catches last year, got 99. So essentially another 100 catch season for Julio Jones. He gets it every year. Again, he's another one that's very similar to a lot of these top wide receivers. Gets double, triple teams, and he's more likely to get that than anyone else. And he still can come up with a catch when he's being triple teamed. He's essentially like the Aaron Donald, but of a wide receiver version. Gets double, triple teamed, and still performs at an elite level that is better than essentially a lot of other players in the league. And probably the reason I've got him at 3 is because you've got Calvin Ridley there, who will have his share of targets. You've got Hayden Hurst there, that's a new signing for Atlanta. He'll get his targets. You've got Todd Gurley there that will get catch out of the backfield, even though he didn't get them with the Rams last year, but I think he will get them in Atlanta. And you've got Russell Gage will get his targets. There's a lot more mouths to feed in Atlanta than there is in Green Bay, which is why I have Adams at number 2 and Julio Jones at number 3. That's my reasoning for that. At number 4, we have Torrey Kill of the Kansas City Chiefs. It's been Kansas City. Got football is on today, the first game back of the season. Kansas City and Houston Texans. I'll be watching that's for sure. So make sure you tune in and watch that. I've got Torrey Kill at number 4. Unlike the other guys that are above him, the top 3 guys, he's got a low floor, but he's got an insanely high ceiling. Like, you've got guys like Michael Thomas who can get you 35, 40 points to their ceiling. Thomas can probably get you 50 points in a game week or whatever, but Torrey Kill it's a lot more likely that Torrey Kill will get you 40, 45 point ceiling than what like a Mog Thomas will. Mog Thomas will be consistently around that 20 to 30 point range. I think that Torrey Kill's got those boom weeks where he can go 40, 45 points, where he get a couple of touchdowns, 200 yards receiving. He's that sort of guy that can have one play, it'll be 80 yards and a touchdown, and it gives you a truckload of points just right there. So, his floor is what concerns me, and the fact that you've got a lot of guys, again, in Kansas City to feed. You got, as you said, you got Torrey Kill, obviously there. You got Travis Kelce. You've got Mecole Hardman, you've got DeMarcus Robinson, you've got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that's obviously the new running back there. There's a lot of mouths to feed there, so I don't see Torrey Kill being fed as much as what a Julio Jones or Michael Thomas or Devonta Adams will, but he will have those plays where he'll go 80 yards to the house or 70 yards to the house, and he'll make up for it. But, yeah, just be cautious with some of those games where he might be shut out of the game and might only get 5, 6, 7 points, and you don't really want that from your number 1 wide receiver. But I think that there'll be more times than not he will go over 15 points, but there will be 1 or 2 games in the year where he will only get a few points, so just watch out for that. At number 5, I've changed this a little bit throughout the week. I've gone Chris Godwin at number 5. Now, obviously, we don't know which wide receiver Tom Brady is going to gravitate to. Is he going to go towards Mike Evans? Is he going to go towards Chris Godwin? He's obviously going to go to Gronk. Gronk's going to get his catches from Brady, obviously, that chemistry there from New England. But I think Chris Godwin's the guy. I think that a lot of people have been saying, maybe it's Mike Evans, maybe it's Chris Godwin. I think it's going to be Chris Godwin, and this is why. Julian Edelman played out of the slot for New England. He got targeted a crap ton at during their time there at the Patriots with Tom Brady. Chris Godwin played in the slot. Mike Evans lines out wide. So I see it being, I think both can coexist in the same offenses in Mike Evans and Chris Godwin getting big numbers. We did see a few years ago with Brandon Cooks and Julian Edelman, which was at the Patriots. He had a good year that year. Obviously, Edelman was the better pick, but yeah, I think Godwin playing in the slot, I think he'll get a lot more of the targets. We saw last year him, massive breakout year. I think he's going to continue that, and I think that he will be a top 5 wide receiver this season. So he's my number 5. Number 6 is DeAndre Hopkins. Now, again, you could probably put him at number 5. I did toss between Chris Godwin and DeAndre Hopkins, but I put DeAndre at 6 before his contract, but I'll keep him there at 16 with his contract. Like, he signed a massive contract, $52.5 million or something like over 2 years, which is ridiculous. Was it highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the NFL or something, I think was what they said. But yeah, again, Arizona's got a lot of mouths to feed. I know that obviously I didn't talk about Tampa. They've got a lot of mouths to feed as well, but obviously Arizona, you've got a lot of wide receivers there. You've got Christian Kirk there. You've got Larry Fitzgerald there. You've got Andy Isabella, who I think will get more targets this year. All those guys are going to have shared targets. And you've got Kenyon Drake and Chase Edmonds out of the backfield. And if Benjamin gets any targets out of the backfield, that's another mouth there as well. So I think DeAndre Hopkins will still be a top 6 or 7 wide receiver. He's a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL, I think, in general. But I think that it'll be a little bit similar to the Odell Beckham Jr. at Cleveland last year. There'll be a little bit of a teething stage where maybe DeAndre Hopkins might not, and him and Collar might not be necessarily on the same page straight away. They probably will, but that's a little asterisk that they may not necessarily be that straight away. And his numbers at the start of the season might suffer, but I see them improving as the season goes on, the longer that those two get to gel together. I still think he's a top, as I said, I've got him at 6, so there's nothing wrong. He's still wide receiver 1 in most teams on this year in like a 4-team league. which no, I don't really think many people play in a 4-team league. So there you go, unless you're just a family one. But anyway, I've got DeAndre Hopkins at 6. Number 7, I've got Kenny Goliday of the Detroit Lions. Now, he is very similar to Tyreek Hill. Those massive plays with Matthew Stafford. We saw him early in the season before Stafford got injured, of them connecting really well on big plays, one after another. I think that'll happen again. He's built very much like Julio, like 6'3" plus. He's a man mountain for a wide receiver. And he's also really, really quick and is a little bit like Torrey Kill with those big 60, 70 yard plays. So he has got that low floor again, but I think he's got a high ceiling. But I think his ceiling's a little bit higher than Tyreek Hill. I think because he is the undisputed number 1 target in Detroit, I think he will be fed to an extent. I think you can see somewhere around anywhere from 4+ targets per game. Sorry, not 4+, like 4 catches plus per game, I would imagine. So I still think he's a top 7 wide receiver. I think he's the guy that moves up in the rankings from last year, and I think that he takes another step this season. At number 8, I have Robert Woods from Los Angeles Rams. So he's my number 1 wide receiver in a number of teams that I've got. We saw in the back half of last year him go absolutely bananas. Was averaging over 15 points per game as a wide receiver. I think he's a top 5 wide receiver over the back 6 or 7 games. And he was Jared Goff's number 1 target late in the season. We saw Cooper Kupp's target share decrease, and we saw Rob Woods' target share increase. I think the Rams improved late last season, and Rob Woods was one of the key reasons why. So I think that they will go back to the well with that, and I think he will continue to get those targets like he did last season. I think he will be the better of the two in terms of catches and yards and stuff like that out of the 2 Rams wide receivers. Maybe Cooper Kupp gets some more touchdowns because he is Jared Goff's go-to guy in the red zone. But I think that the catches, especially with all these being PPR scoring draft rankings, I think that Robert Woods will eventually, will have enough points from the receptions and yards to get over Cooper Kupp. And fun enough, number 9 is Cooper Kupp, again, of Los Angeles Rams. So I've got him at number 9. I think that they're the two of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Could be biased as a Rams fan, but I don't think it is. I think that they are. Cooper Kupp is Jared Goff's number 1 guy in the red zone. I think he got 8 touchdowns last season. And it was one of the top few as a wide receiver. He finds a way to get open in the red zone, and Jared Goff knows that, and he goes to him more often than not. Him and Tyler Higby obviously are the 2 main guys in the end zone. Maybe Robert Woods takes some touchdowns this season. Maybe he gets some opportunity. Maybe they give Cam Akers and guys like that, or Darrell Henderson or Malcolm Brown some receptions in the red zone. Tyler Higby came on late last season. We saw Cooper Kupp's target share decrease when Robert Woods and Tyler Higby were taking the majority of those that target share. And then you've also got Gerald Everett there to add into the mix as well. So he'll come in. I think he'll play a role. I don't think he'll play nearly as much as we did early in the season before Tyler Higby went boom. I think that Tyler Higby will still be number 1 tight end there, but I think that he will still have a role to play. So I think there's a lot of targets to go around in LA, but I think that Cooper Kupp can still be a top 10 wide receiver. At number 10, I've got Adam Thielen and the Minnesota Vikings. Now, with Diggs gone, he's now the undisputed number 1 target as well. I think he'll get an insane amount of targets this season. I think he could be in the top 5 or so for targets for the season from Kirk Cousins. But I just think that the guys, Adam Thielen's a bit like a Jarvis Landry. Like, he's not a very sexy player. He's not a guy that you look at and think, oh, amazing. He's going to be 20 plus points every week. He's not a boom player. He's a guy that will get the job done a little bit like Rob Woods in a way. He'll get you 10 plus points every week without a doubt. He'll consistently perform for you. I think he's still a top 10 wide receiver. And as I said, with Diggs going, he now is the undisputed number 1 target in Minnesota. So I think that he will get more targets this year. He's past his injury problems from last year with his hamstring, and I think that we'll see a very good season from Adam Thielen. Number 11, I have Odell Beckham Jr. I think that a rebound season, if you want to call it that, will be on the cards. I think that he will play a full season this season, which he hasn't done. He hasn't played a full season being healthy for a while now. Last year was injured for the majority of the year. had all types of different issues. I think he says he's fit now, 100% healthy. Kevin Stefanski coming in, I think makes him better because his scheme is what Minnesota were doing. He's very, very run heavy first, which opens up the play action pass and opens up the big plays for his receivers. And Odell Beckham Jr., what does he do best? Big plays. That's exactly what he does. I think that we saw Jarvis Landry take a big step last year in his second year with Baker Mayfield. I think that in Odell Beckham Jr.'s second year with Baker Mayfield, I think he takes a similar step up, but I think he can go even better and he can be a top 12 wide receiver. And I think that he'll have a good year this season. Mike Evans at number 12 from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think that, again, you've got the best quarterback since you've he is the best quarterback of all time. I don't know what I'm talking about. Best quarterback of all time throwing to you, big plays. I could see very similar to what happened with Julian Edelman and Brandon Cooks in New England a few years ago with Tom Brady, where they both had a massive role in the offense. And again, it's those big plays for Mike Evans. I think he can have a lot of them this season with Tom Brady on the ball. I think his arm is still very good to be able to throw to Mike Evans at 45 years of age. So still got, I think, or 43. I don't know what Tom Brady's age off the top of my head. I've had a bit of a mental blank there, but he can still sling it. And I think Mike Evans will make many big plays this season and will still be a top 12 wide receiver, I imagine. Number 13, Calvin Ridley of the Atlanta Falcons. I think that, again, he is a little bit like Kenny Goliday. He takes another big step up this season. He's already talked himself up, which is good. I'm not saying talking himself up in a bad way. He's talking himself up in a good way, saying that I expect myself to be elite this year. I expect to take that next step, which is always good for a fantasy owner if you're hearing a guy say that. Obviously, he's got to put it on the field, but I think that he will. I think with Todd Gurley there as well, it opens up more space for him and Julio to stretch the field more. I think that they'll sort of coincide one another. I think them stretching the field will allow Gurley to have more holes and vice versa. Gurley there will be able to have Ridley and Jones have more space to run upfield. And yeah, I just think Atlanta is just a very potent offense, and I think that they will score a lot of points every week. They'll create a ton of yards every week, and I think that Calvin Ridley will benefit from Julio getting that double coverage and triple coverage. And I think that he, as I said, I think he will benefit from that. Terry McLaurin at number 14 of the Washington football team. He, again, undisputed number one target in Washington. Dwayne Haskins throwing the ball. They've got that college connection there, both playing at the same college. The only question I have is, will Washington's offense be able to continue to get up and down the field and be able to give McLaurin those targets and receptions and yards and touchdowns? That's the only question I have, because the guys above him play for like Tampa Bay, Atlanta Falcons, New Orleans Saints, Green Bay Packers, all these teams here that will create a lot of yardage and be high-scoring offenses. Will Washington be able to do that? I'm not certain, I'm not sure. I don't think they will be, but I think McLaurin will be the main guy then. He'll have a very, very large target share there, so I think that he'll still be able to finish within the top 15 this season. Keenan Allen is my number 15 wide receiver from the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, Mike Williams is possibly going to be out for the first game. We don't know yet. We'll see close to game day, but he's Tyra Taylor's number one target without question. He just got paid. He got his just got paid his extension. He's always been really consistent with target share. He's been top 5 wide receiver for stretches, but hasn't been able to do that for a full season. I think it was last season, the season before he started on fire, and then sort of not dwindled away, but just sort of didn't quite have that same production that he had early in the season. So I think he can do it for a full season this year. Maybe not as high ceiling, but I think that his floor is quite solid, because I think that he'll get the majority of targets there in LA. Number 16, I've got Brandon Cooks. Now, this again's got an asterisk because I'm doing this now, and these rankings are number 4. But Brandon Cooks is questionable for the game later on today with an injury. I believe it's a calf injury from what I read, and that's not good going into your first game. But I think that if he does play in the game, or if he plays in future games, I think he will still be in the top 20 wide receivers. I think that he'll be I think that he'll be number one wide receiver in Houston. A lot of people are saying Will Fuller there, but I don't think Will Fuller's going to stay healthy for a full season. He hasn't been able to do that in the NFL, so why is he going to do it this season? You never know, he might, but I don't think he will. I think that Brandon Cooks will be the guy there. I think he'll be able to make some big plays with Deshaun Watson throwing the ball. I think having a better running back there and David Johnson again will open up space further downfield for Brandon Cooks to make those big plays like he did in LA with Jared Goff last season, and I think that he will be within the top 20 wide receivers or thereabouts anyway. Number 17, I've got A.J. Brown. Again, another number one target in his offense of the Tennessee Titans. He'll be getting all of the targets from Ryan Tannehill. You've got Derrick Henry that'll be essentially distracting the whole defense because Derrick Henry is an absolute beast. So A.J. Brown's going to capitalize on that. We saw in the back 5 or 6 games last season here, and you can see his ceiling is very, very high. He's got the ceiling of your Mog Thomas, your Torrey Kills, guys. He's got that 40-point ceiling. We saw him get to 35, 36, 37 points last season in a couple of games, but his floor, again, is very low. He could only have 2 or 3 catches for 30 yards in a game, and then that's it. I think that his floor will increase this season. I think that he'll have a very good year. I think he'll be within the top 20 wide receivers, and I think that he will take a step up as well this season. Number 18, another guy I think will take a step up, DJ Chark or Shark of, how do you say it? Chark or Shark? I don't know how you say it. If anyone knows, let me know because I'm not sure. But I'm going to say DJ Chark there. Again, number one wide receiver for Jacksonville Jaguars. He's got Gardner Minshew going to be throwing the ball. They're not going to be able to run the ball. It's as simple as that. They've got they're a mess at the moment, the Jaguars. They've got Chris Thompson and James Robinson there running the ball. Defense aren't going to be very scared of them out of the backfield. So they're going to need to throw the ball, and they're going to fall behind in games because they've lost so many defensive pieces. So they're going to have to throw the ball, and I think DJ Chark is going to be the main beneficiary of that. I think he's going to have a big year. Him and AJ Brown, I've probably got two. I could probably put them in my top 14 or 15. But at the moment, that's where I've got them there, and I'm sure that they'll move up in rankings throughout the season. At number 19, I've got Amari Cooper. Now, I've got him a bit lower just because I think the addition of CeeDee Lamb there is going to take some targets away. And then you've also got, apparently, Blake Jarwin's going to have a bigger role in the offense. That's going to take some more targets away. Then you've still got Michael Gallup there. You've got Zeke in the backfield. They're all going to have targets. Dallas Cowboys is going to be a very, very high-scoring offense, but I don't see the same target share for Amari Cooper that he has had in the past. And again, he's one of those wide receivers that does struggle at times to stay healthy for a 16-game season. There's always a little niggle. He's already missed some practice in training camp. He's always got a little niggle here and there, and I don't like my wide receiver ones and wide receiver twos having that sort of worry. You want to put them in lineup every week, besides obviously the bye week, and not have to worry about them having a niggle every year. I suffered that last year with Odell Beckham Jr. having him in and him last couple of seasons. So hopefully for his sake, he can stay healthy, but I've got him a little bit lower than what a lot of other people do just because of that reason. At number 20, I've got T.Y. Hilton. Every time Phillip Rivers is in offense, he gravitates to one receiver, and there's been reports coming out of training camp that him and T.Y. Hilton have been their connection have been blossoming. They've been connecting a lot throughout training camp, and I think that will be the case in the regular season. Again, T.Y. Hilton again is in that category of last couple of seasons had a niggle every few weeks. He's done he's had hamstring issues, he's had calf issues, he's had all these other issues, and it's like if he could stay healthy for a 16-game season, he could be a guy that could move inside the top 15 to 10 and could be a very strong option for your teams. And I think that he'll have a very solid year, provided he can stay healthy for a full season. Number 21, Stephon Diggs. Again, third wide receiver in a row, I'm going to say this, but again, he's had injury issues in the past. He's lit up in games. He's had 30-point, 40-point games, but then he's got an injury, and then he's out again for when he was at Minnesota. So for Buffalo, can he stay healthy? Injuries always, you can always assume that people are going to stay healthy, but when guys have got injury histories, it's always like they're obviously more prone to being injured. But he's the number one wide receiver at Buffalo. I think that he hasn't got like a guy like Adam Thielen competing for targets. He's got like John Brown and Cole Beasley competing for targets. I think Stephon Diggs is a better option than those two. I think he will have a lot more targets, a bigger target share in Buffalo than in Minnesota. My only question is, does Josh Allen have that arm to continually going to Stephon Diggs? We saw him run the ball a lot last year and go to Cole Beasley and guys like that. And he did go to John Brown a bit. Can he go to Stephon Diggs and John Brown both? not sure. But I think Stephon Diggs is still a very solid option as a wide receiver 2 in your teams. Number 22, Allen Robinson. Now, my issue with him is I'm not the biggest fan of the quarterback, Mitch Trubisky. If Mitch Trubisky can take a step up, Allen Robinson automatically goes inside the top 20. That's the only concern. He's a great player, but can he be able to continually get fed the ball and get the ball fed to him accurately to have those catches to be able to be a top echelon wide receiver? Because he's certainly got the talent, but has he got the right quarterback? That's still suspect, so I'm not sure about that. Number 23, Julian Edelman at the New England Patriots. A number 1 target for Cam Newton. Again, we just got to see how this develops. He obviously was amazing with Tom Brady. Their connection was amazing. Obviously, no Tom Brady there anymore. You've got Cam Newton there. I think Cam Newton will gravitate towards Julian Edelman as his number 1 target. He is the number 1 target there and the best receiver there. So it just depends. Will there be a bit of a teething stage again for their connection? Will it take a few games to get going, or will it get going straight away? That's why I've got him a little bit lower, but he, again, another one that could push his way up the rankings throughout the season. Number 24, Cortland Sutton. Now, I think he will take a step up this year as well, but I just worry that I think he's the number 1 target there. You've got Judy now there. I don't think Juju's going to demand much coverage at all straight off the bat, obviously, because he's a rookie. So Cortland Sutton will be that guy that'll be double teamed. And is he going to be able to do that for 16 games, for a 16-game season, and be productive? He'll have his games, I think, where he'll boom and he'll go 20-plus points, but I also think he's got a low floor where he could only get 5 or 6 points in any given week. So that's why I've got him a little bit lower there, but I think he's still a very good option to have as your wide receiver 2, or even if you get him as your flex. That would be still a good option, or wide receiver 3 if you play in those sort of leagues where you've got 3 wide receivers on your field. Number 25, I've got Jarvis Landry. Now, I think Odell Beckham is going to obviously catch the attention of more defenses. He's going to require more coverage. So I think that opens up bigger holes for Jarvis Landry. He's got a very, very good rapport with Baker Mayfield. I got a bit lower because I think Odell Beckham will take that step back up this season and be the number 1 wide receiver for Cleveland. But I think that with the scheme that Kevin Stefanski runs, I think that both Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. can both flourish and both be top 30, top 25, top 30 receivers, and possibly even top 20, depending on how good the Cleveland offense is this season. We don't know how good it will be, so it's just a wait and see on that. But I've still got Jarvis Landry at 25. Number 26 is AJ Green. Can AJ Green stay healthy for a full game season? Trey Briggs, I'll get to your question in just a second. I'll just finish off these last couple in the top 30. Can AJ Green stay healthy? That's the big question. It's so hard to say if he can, because he hasn't been able to be. He hasn't played a game since 2018. He missed all last season with injury. Can he play a full season? I've got a good feeling he can. I think he can. And again, if he's fit for 16 games, he's a top 10 wide receiver in my eyes. So he could have a big season. I've got him on my bench in my main league, so I'm hoping that is the case and I can then put him on my field. But we'll wait and see how that goes. So number 27, I've got Juju Smith-Schuster. Now, a lot of people got him inside the top 15. I've got him a little bit lower than a lot of people because I think that he had a down year last year. He's going to get double coveraged a lot of the time. I think Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool take that step up and take a lot of targets. I think James Conner gets his fair share. I think Juju will still have a very good year. And I could have him too low because Big Ben's back, but I just don't know if he's got that high ceiling like those other guys do. So I'm just a few question marks about Juju, but I think he can still have a very good season. Tyler Lockett at number 28. I've got him a little bit low because I think DK Metcalf is going to have a lot of targets this season as well. So is Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf going to be able to coexist in a run-heavy offense at Seattle? I think that they both can with Russell Wilson throwing the ball because he's insane. But there's been rumors about Antonio Brown possibly signing with the Seahawks after his suspension. So that could sort of buzzkill his potential value late in the season. I don't think he will because they just signed Josh Gordon to a one-year deal, but you never know what can happen. But I think Tyler Lockett will still have a very good season nonetheless. Number 29, DJ Moore of Carolina Panthers. I think he's the number 1 target there in the passing game. He wasn't last year. Last year it was Christian McCaffrey, but I think DJ Moore will be number 1 target this season. I've got him a bit low just because I just don't think Carolina Panthers is just that good going to be very good of an offense this season. They're playing in a tough NFC South this season. and I think they will struggle to an extent. So I don't see him being a top echelon wide receiver, but I may be wrong. This is just my opinion, by the way. So DK Metcalf rounds out my top 30. I think the hit, again, with Russell Wilson throwing in the ball, you've always got that upside of being a top 20, top 15 wide receiver. I was going a bit lower just because I think it will be a 50-50 split between Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf compared to some of those other guys above him that will have bigger target shares. So we'll answer Trey Briggs' question now. So should I start Miles Sanders, touch could be limited week 1, over David Johnson? Okay, well, I've got Miles Sanders in my lineup as my RB1, and I was hoping I was going to get David Johnson. But if you've got both of them, you've got the pick. It's very, very interesting. David Johnson playing against Kansas City is going to be, I think it's going to be high scoring. I think it's going to be a chance for him to get maybe a touchdown or two. I would probably lean towards David Johnson being your starting running back this week, only because of the Miles Sanders, just that little niggle of that injury. I'm a little bit worried about that. But if Doug Peterson comes out and says in the coming days that he will be 100%, he won't have a snap count, I would play Miles Sanders if they're both healthy at the same time. But because of that little risk, I would probably go with David Johnson, obviously, because David Johnson plays tonight. So unless something happens with Miles Sanders within the next little bit, then I'd play David Johnson over Miles Sanders. So just quickly go through the last ones because we've got to get to the tight end live stream and that. If you're watching live, make sure you come over to the tight end rankings where I'll be discussing them. No worries, Trey. All good to help, man. Subscribe to the channel if you want. If you haven't subscribed, man, I'd really appreciate the help. And if you're watching as well, like the video. Any help on this channel does any support on the channel does help me. Finally got it out. So at number 31, I've got Marquis Brown there. I think he's going to be number 1 wide receiver in Baltimore for Lamar Jackson. So he's got massive upside as well. Number 32, I've got Deontay Johnson there for Pittsburgh. I think he takes a big step up this season for Pittsburgh and has a very good year. Michael Gallup at 33 of Dallas Cowboys. I think he could be the number 1 wide receiver on Dallas, especially with Amari Cooper getting all of the main coverage there. I think he could score more than Amari Cooper. I'm not quite ready to say that he will, but he very well could do that. Will Fuller at number 34. He's a guy that could go into the top 20. It's just that injury risk. I'm just not comfortable enough to put him inside the top 30 just yet because of that injury risk. Darius Slate, number 35. I think that he will get the majority of targets there, but it could be Sterling Shepard. It could be Golden Tate. So I wonder, and let's see who it'll be there. But I've gone in a bit lower just because of that sort of question mark of who's going to be the number 1 wide receiver in for New York. Debo Samuel at 36. I think he's the number 1 target behind George Kittle for San Francisco. So I think he'll get a ton of targets. Just depends how long will it take for him to get 100% healthy, obviously coming off of that injury. Devontae Parker at 37 for Miami. I think he'll be number 1 wide receiver there. I think Preston Williams will have his share of targets, but I think that Devontae Parker will still be the number 1 wide receiver there. We saw it last year, how well he performed. I think he'll continue that this season, but I think Preston Williams will still have a bit more of an increased role in the offense. Desean Jackson for Philadelphia Eagles. He's the 1 fit wide receiver, which usually he's not fit. So it's good. Hopefully he stays fit. I think he'll start the season off with a bang against Washington. I think I've got a decision to make. Do I start him, AJ Green, or Jarvis Landry as my number 2 wide receiver this week? I think I'm leaning towards Desean Jackson there or Jarvis Landry. It's a toss-up. I don't know who I'm going to lean to yet, but the Washington matchup is great, and I really like that. Number 39, Emmanuel Sanders, New Orleans Saints offense. It's always going to be productive, and I think Emmanuel Sanders is going to perform very well as the number 2 wide receiver in New Orleans, which hasn't performed well for a few years now. Ted Ginn didn't do much. Traquan Smith hasn't done much. So I think Emmanuel Sanders will come in. I think he'll be a very good target for Drew Brees and take some pressure off of Michael Thomas. And Tyler Boyd rounds out my top 40 for the Cincinnati Bengals. I just think AJ Green coming back will just diminish his target share from what it was last season. I think you got John Ross and T. Higgins there as well that'll get their fair share of targets. And I think Joe Mixon will also get a few touches out of the backfield as well after his contract extension. So there you have it. They're my top 40 wide receivers for the upcoming season. If you have enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like, comment any thoughts you have, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Any support is much appreciated. I'll be going live now doing my tight end live stream. So make sure you do that. So hang on. So Shellmac 68. So start 2, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Kenyon Drake, Antonio Gibson, Miles Sanders, leaning towards Clyde and Drake. Yeah, I would probably do. I'd probably do that. I'd definitely do CEH as one, and it's probably like Antonio Gibson. I'll probably put a number 4, and just because that injury, that little question mark for Miles Sanders, I'll probably put Kenyon Drake at number 2. But if something happens and Doug Peterson comes out and says that Miles Sanders is all good to go, we're not going to put him on a snap count, I'd have Miles Sanders too, because I think he has got a higher floor than what Kenyon Drake does, because I think he will be more involved in the passing game. Kenyon Drake will still be involved, but I think Miles Sanders will be more involved in the passing game. So I hope that helps you out, Shellmac 68. So if you guys want to join in the next live stream at tight ends, I'll be heading over to do that now. So again, if you want to check it on my social media, no worries, Shellmac, all good, man. If you want to check on my social media accounts as well, links will be all in the description below. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the tight end live stream right now. I'm out. Cheers.